The red sky above Mars Base Echo was glowing strangely. The solar flares were getting stronger. People were running in every direction, holding bags, crying children, and emergency passes. There was only one last shuttle leaving for Earth. After that, no more flights were expected for a week. Lena stood in line quietly. She was holding her travel bag, her ID, and the emergency ticket she had received 2 days ago. She had waited many hours for this moment. The announcement had been clear. Only those with a valid ticket will be allowed to board. Her boots were covered with red dust. Her brown jacket was torn at the sleeve, but she didn't care. Lena wasn't rich. She had come to Mars as a maintenance worker for the terraforming machines. She had saved for 2 years to buy a small plot of land on Earth's green zone. This return trip was her dream step. As the boarding gates opened, security began. Checking IDs one by one, the line moved slowly. Everyone looked tired and nervous. The storm warning had scared even the boldest travelers. Just behind her in the line stood a man in a dark coat. He looked exhausted, and in his arms, he held a sleeping child around 4 years old. The man's face was pale, eyes dark with lack of sleep. He had no luggage except a worn-out bag and a broken tablet hanging from his belt. The child whimpered in her sleep. Lena turned and offered a soft smile. "She okay?" Lena asked. The man nodded. "Just tired. We've been walking for hours. I didn't think we'd make it here in time. You got your ticket?" she asked. The man looked down, embarrassed. "I had one, but the system glitched. It was registered under my daughter's name only. They won't let me in with her." Lena's heart sank. The child opened her eyes for a moment and whispered, "Papa, I'm cold." The father hugged her tighter and looked away. He didn't ask for help. He didn't beg. But Lena could see his pain. Suddenly, the security guard shouted, "Next!" It was Lena's turn. She stood at the scanner, but her mind was not focused. The girl's sleepy voice echoed in her ears, "I'm cold." The security officer checked her ID and scanned her ticket. "You're clear. Proceed." Lena looked back one more time. The man had sat down on the bench, his head resting on his hand, the child in his lap. Then, she did something that shocked even herself. She turned around and walked back. The guard shouted, "Hey, miss, where are you going?" Lena ignored him. She walked straight to the man and gently touched his shoulder. "Take my ticket," she said. The man looked up, confused. "What? Take it? You can board now. She needs to get out of here." "You both do." He stood up, surprised. "But this is your only way out." "I know," Lena said softly. "But you have a child. I can wait for the next one." "I can't accept this," he said, his voice shaking. "You can," Lena smiled, "because I'm giving it." The security guard was now running toward them. "You're giving your seat away?" "Ma'am, we don't recommend that." "It's my choice," she said. Without waiting for more questions, she took the father's ID and handed both IDs to the guard. "Let them board under my ticket." "I'm staying." The guard hesitated, then looked at the crying child and the woman's calm face. Finally, he nodded. "Fine, but this is permanent. Once you give up the seat, it's gone." "I understand," Lena replied. The man slowly took her hand. His voice was low, almost broken. "Thank you. I don't know who you are, but thank you." Lena smiled again. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "When she grows up, tell her someone believed in kindness. Tell her to pass it on." The man nodded. The shuttle's door was closing. The man and his daughter stepped inside, disappearing behind the heavy door. Lena stood alone on the launch platform as the engines began to roar. The wind pushed her hair back. The sky was turning darker, signs of the solar storm approaching. The shuttle lifted off, fire flashing beneath it, and flew into the dusty red sky. Lena took a deep breath and walked back toward the Mars base building. There were still people there, engineers, miners, medics who hadn't made the cut. They were stuck like her. Inside the base, people were restless. Power flickered. Food supplies were low. Fear was in the air, but Lena didn't show fear. She walked up to the central hall, sat down beside an elderly man who was coughing, and offered him her water bottle. No one clapped for her. No one gave her a medal. No one even knew what she had done. But far above Mars, in that shuttle flying safely toward Earth, a man held his daughter close. He watched the planet fade in the distance and whispered to himself, "I will not forget." Her. That man was Dren Valen, CEO of Valentech, one of the richest humans in the galaxy. But Lena had no idea who he was. All she knew was that she had done the right thing, and that was enough for her. Lena sat on the cold floor of the main hall in Mars Base Echo. The lights above flickered once again. The solar storm had arrived. Outside the dome, dangerous radiation swept across the Martian surface. It was too risky to go out. Everyone left. Behind was now officially stranded. There were about 50 people stuck inside the base. Some were workers, some engineers, some travelers who didn't get on the last shuttle. Most were quiet. A few looked angry. The storm had grounded all ships for at least 6 more days. That meant 6 days with limited food, water, and power. Lena looked around. A child cried softly in the corner, and 2 old miners argued about oxygen levels. The stress was high. People were scared, but Lena didn't let fear control her. She stood up and went to the food supply room. The base still had some rations, but not enough for 50 people. She began making a list of what they had. Then she made a plan to share meals fairly 2 per day, small portions, no waste. She called a meeting and spoke with a clear voice. "We need to stay calm. If we organize, we can survive this together." Some people listened, some just stared. But a young mechanic named Jonas nodded. "She's right. If we act like a team, we'll be fine." Slowly, others joined. A doctor offered to set up a small medical center in the corner of the hall. A cook from the visitor center helped Lena with food. A few engineers checked the backup oxygen and water systems. Lena became the quiet leader of Mars Base Echo. She didn't tell people what to do. She worked with them. She listened. She helped. That night, the power went out for 3 hours. The solar storm had knocked out one of the external panels. In the darkness, people began to panic. Children cried. Someone shouted that oxygen was dropping. Lena walked into the middle of the room with a small portable light in her hand. Her voice was calm. "We're still breathing. The backup oxygen is working. We just need to stay calm and wait for power to return." Her voice gave people strength. Jonas and another engineer went outside in protective suits the next morning and repaired the damaged panel. Power returned. People clapped softly. By the 3rd day, something strange began to happen. A small delivery drone appeared near the dome, flying low and smooth. It wasn't part of the base systems. It looked new and advanced, unlike anything the base used. Lena saw it land just outside the airlock. A small package dropped from it. The base security officer went to check it. Inside the package was a box of food, some water packets, thermal blankets, and a note that simply said, "To Lena, you are not forgotten. Help is coming soon." The officer looked confused. "Who sent this? How did it reach us in the middle of a solar storm?" The others gathered around. Lena stared at the note. Her name was on it, but she had told no one on Earth. She stayed behind. No calls were allowed. The storm had blocked all long-distance communication. Jonas smiled. "Looks like you've got a secret friend." Lena laughed a little but was puzzled. "I don't know who it could be." The food was real. The blankets helped keep the elderly warm. People were thankful. On day 4, another drone came, this time with a portable signal booster, a stronger water filter, and more food. The note inside said, "You are strong. Keep leading, we are watching. Now the mystery deepened. Who was sending these things? Some thought it was the Earth government. Others believed it was a wealthy company. But only Lena's name was on the notes. And none of the supplies matched standard emergency gear. Lena had a quiet thought in the back of her mind. Could it be the man with the child? She remembered. His tired face. The way he had looked at her when she gave up her seat. He had never said who he was. He had no guards. No badge, just a child. Lena shook the thought away. Why would a man like him remember someone like her? Still, the drones kept coming once every day, always quiet, always landing safely through the storm. The technology was advanced. The supplies were life-saving. By the 5th day, Mars base Echo was stable again. People were eating, sleeping, and helping each other. They had hope, and much of it was because of Lena's quiet work and the strange gifts arriving from the sky. In the evenings, she sat near the observation window. The red storm clouds danced above the horizon. The drones flew like silver birds, quiet and peaceful. Jonas sat next to her one evening. You know, he said, not many people would have done what you did. Giving up your ticket like that. That's rare, Lena smiled. It just felt like the right thing. He nodded. Still, not many people do the right thing when it costs them everything. She looked at the sky. I didn't lose everything. I'm still here. And I'm not alone. The others now called her Captain Lena, though she wasn't a captain at all. She was just someone who had cared more for others than for herself. And far away, on Earth, in a quiet office high above the clouds, Dren Valen, the CEO of Valentech, watched the drone reports. He saw Lena's face on the camera feeds. He saw how she cared for others, how she led, how she gave people hope. His daughter, sitting beside him, pointed to the screen. That's her, Papa, the lady who gave us the seat. Yes, Dren said, smiling. That's her. Is she coming to Earth too? Soon, he said. And when she does, her life will change forever. The 6th morning on Mars base Echo began quietly. The red sky outside had started to clear. The solar storm was weakening. People gathered near the windows, watching the soft glow of sunlight return. Lena stood near the water purifier, checking the levels. Thanks to the supplies from the mystery drones, the base had enough clean water and food. People were eating, smiling, even laughing again. A few children played in the corner, using empty ration boxes as toys. But Lena still had questions in her heart. Who was sending the drones? Why did the notes always have her name? That morning, a new drone arrived. It landed smoothly outside the airlock, just like before. But this time, it carried something different. Lena opened the package carefully. Inside were a few small food packs, a new toolkit for repairs, and a small silver cube. On top of the cube was a message card that read, "For Lena only, press once." Everyone gathered around, curious. Lena held the cube in her hands. It was cold and smooth, with one glowing button on top. She looked at Jonas, who stood beside her. Should I press it? He nodded. If it came for you, it's meant for you. Lena pressed the button. The cube blinked once. Then a clear, warm voice came out. It was calm, kind, and strong. Hello, Lena. You don't know me, but I know you. You gave up your seat for me and my daughter on the last shuttle. You saved us. I haven't forgotten. I never will. Everyone went silent. My name is Dren Valen. I am the CEO of Valentech, a human technology company with reach across planets. I was traveling in disguise to keep my child safe. You didn't know who I was, but you helped anyway. That's what makes you special. Lena's eyes widened. Her hand trembled slightly. Since that day, I've watched from afar. You didn't just survive, you led. You gave people hope. You reminded me what humanity truly is: kindness, sacrifice, and strength in hard times. The voice paused. "I am sending one of my private ships to bring you and the others back. It will land when the storm is fully gone. Until then, more help will come. Hold on. You are not forgotten." The message ended. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then someone whispered, "Drenvalen." "The Drenvalen?" Jonas spoke next. "That's the richest man in the human colonies. He owns half the orbiting tech stations." Lena was still staring at the cube. I didn't know who he was. I just saw a tired father with a child. One of the older miners smiled. "And that's why he remembers you." Later that day, Lena sat alone near the observation window. The storm outside had nearly passed. Only faint winds remained. She watched the sky and thought about the voice in the cube. It felt unreal. All she had done was give up a seat, but maybe that one act had reached farther than she expected. That evening, as the stars returned above Mars, more drones arrived. This time, they brought new clothes, medicines, and even fresh fruit from Earth something none of them had seen in weeks. The children laughed, holding apples and oranges in their hands. The adults looked at Lena with admiration and thanks. She tried to stay humble. "I didn't do anything big," she said to Jonas. He shook his head. "No, you did something rare. You chose someone else over yourself. And because of that, we're all going home." On the 7th morning, a new ship appeared on the radar. It was sleek, black, and fast unlike any government ship. It landed softly just beyond the base, its engines quiet like a whisper. From it stepped a group of clean, professional crew members wearing Valentech uniforms. Their leader, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a kind smile, stepped forward. "We're here to bring you home," she said, "by order of Drenvalen himself." Cheers broke out in the hall. People hugged. Some cried. The crew handed out boarding passes and helped pack up supplies. The children were given small toys. The elderly were helped into warm coats. But before they left, Lena walked one last time through the base. She touched the wall where she had slept. She looked at the food room, the broken lights they had fixed, the hallway where they had come together. Then she picked up the silver cube and placed it in her bag. The ship's cabin was bright and peaceful. As it lifted off, Lena looked through the window and watched Mars Base Echo shrink below. It had been a place of fear, but also of growth. Jonas sat beside her, smiling. "You think he'll be at Earth waiting for you?" Lena shrugged. "Maybe, but even if he's not, I'm still glad I gave up that seat." He nodded. "So are we all." The ship flew silently through space, carrying 50 survivors home. And among them sat a woman who had no title, no riches, and no power, only kindness in her heart. And that kindness had reached the stars. The ship carrying Lena and the other survivors flew quietly across the stars. It was faster than any ship Lena had ever seen before. The seats were soft, the lights gentle, and the air clean. Even the food tasted like something from a high class hotel, not a rescue ship. Lena sat near the window, watching the stars pass by. She held the small silver cube in her hands. The voice of Drenvalen still echoed in her mind. He had remembered her. He had sent help not only for her, but for everyone. The passengers were calm. Children slept. Adults whispered to each other, still amazed at how quickly everything had changed. Just days ago, they were struggling inside Mars Base Echo. Now, they were flying home in comfort and safety. Jonas, sitting next to Lena, leaned over and asked, "So what do you think he'll do when we land?" "Give you a medal?" Lena laughed softly. "I don't need anything. I didn't help him for a reward." He smiled. "And that's why he's doing all this." After several hours, the ship began to slow down. The pilot's voice came over the speaker. "We are now entering Earth's upper atmosphere. Landing in 10 minutes. Lena took a deep breath. Earth. After many years of working on Mars, it felt like a dream. She had no family waiting, No big house or job, but the blue sky below felt like a fresh start. As the ship landed, the doors opened to a wide platform filled with green trees, soft lights, and a group of well-dressed staff. At the center stood a tall man in a clean black coat, his young daughter beside him. It was Dren Valen. Lena stepped off the ship slowly. The wind was cool, the air smelled fresh. Dren walked forward, his daughter holding his hand. He stopped a few steps in front of her and said, "You gave up your seat for us. You didn't know me. You didn't ask anything in return. Yet because of you, my daughter is safe. My world changed." Lena looked at him. "I didn't do anything special. I just did what felt right." Dren smiled. "That is exactly what makes you special." He reached into his coat and handed her a small card made of shining metal. "This is not a gift. It's an invitation. I want you to join Valentech, not as a worker, but as something new. A symbol of what we must protect, human kindness." Lena stared at the card. "What would I do?" "You will travel to our colonies. Speak with leaders, visit struggling places, and remind people that compassion is power. Not everyone listens to orders, but everyone listens to kindness." Lena looked unsure. "I've never done anything like that. I fix machines. I sweep floors." Dren shook his head. "You fix hearts. You brought people together when things were falling apart. That's more valuable than any machine." His daughter stepped forward and smiled. "Thank you for saving us." Lena knelt and gently touched the girl's hand. "You're welcome." That evening, Lena was taken to a peaceful room in one of Earth's green zones. It had soft lights, clean sheets, a real bed, and a view of a blue lake. She sat by the window and thought deeply. Could she really become a voice for kindness? Was she ready to travel between colonies and speak to leaders? Her old life was simple. This new life felt big, maybe too big. But as she watched the moon rise, she remembered something. The scared faces of people at Mars Base Echo, the way they had calmed when she spoke, the way they trusted her. Maybe she wasn't a hero with a weapon or a leader with power, but she was human and she cared, and maybe that was enough. 2 days later, Dren gave Lena her first mission. A message had come from a human settlement near the edge of the galaxy. On the planet Corvus 6, the humans there were having problems with a local alien species called the Threxans. The two groups didn't understand each other, and tension was growing. Lena's job was not to control or command, but to listen, to share stories, and to help both sides understand one another. "You won't be alone," Dren said. "You'll have a small team, but your heart will lead the way." Lena agreed. She didn't know what to expect, but she knew this. Fear grows where understanding is missing. And maybe, just maybe, she could help. The journey to Corvus 6 took 2 days. The planet was covered in green mountains and silver rivers. The human colony sat inside a large dome, while the Threxans lived in floating stone towers nearby. They looked strange, tall, smooth-skinned, with glowing blue eyes and long arms. Lena was welcomed by the colony leader, a worried woman named Captain Mira. "We don't know how to talk to them," she said. "They think we're weak because we show emotion, and our people think they're cold and heartless." Lena nodded. "Then maybe it's time someone listens instead of argues." Her first meeting with the Threxans was quiet. The alien leader, called Taverin, spoke with few words. He didn't smile or show any emotion, but he listened. Lena told the story of Mars Base Echo, of fear, of teamwork, of giving up a seat for a stranger. Taverin listened closely. When she finished, he said, "This act is not logic, it is not strategy, but it is strong." He invited her to visit their tower. Lena slowly built trust. She cooked meals, told stories, asked about Threxan history. She listened, and slowly they began to speak more. They told her that in their world, emotions were once seen as dangerous, But maybe humans showed that feeling could be a strength. By the end of the week, Tavarin and Captain Mara sat together for the first time, and it all began with one human's act of kindness. The wind on Corvus 6 was soft and cool. Giant trees swayed gently in the distance, and the silver rivers reflected the sky like mirrors. The planet was peaceful on the outside, but tension between the human colony and the alien Threxans still filled the air. For weeks now, Lena had worked to build trust. She did not use orders or weapons. She used something else: kindness, patience, and listening. Every day, she sat with people, humans and Threxans, telling stories, sharing food, and asking simple questions. She didn't try to change them. She only tried to understand them. And something amazing began to happen. The Threxans, who once believed emotions were signs of weakness, started to speak of old stories where feeling and connection had once been part of their own culture. They had buried those ways long ago, thinking logic was better. But now, because of Lena, they began to wonder, was kindness a strength too? One day, the Threxan leader Tavarin invited Lena to attend a special event. It was a council meeting. Between both sides, something that hadn't happened in years. Inside the Crystal Hall, humans sat on one side and Threxans on the other. Tension was in the air. Captain Mara, the human colony leader, stood first. "We wish to live in peace," she said, "but we cannot do it alone. We need trust." Tavarin stood next. His voice was deep and calm. "Trust is earned. And you have sent one of your own, this human woman, who came without demand, without fear, and without pride. She only brought her heart. We respect this." He turned toward Lena. "You gave us something we did not expect," he said. "You shared your pain, your fear, and your hope. It made us remember that even in difference, we are alike." The hall was quiet. Then Tavarin did something no Threxan had done in public for centuries. He bowed his head. Not in weakness, but in respect. The humans gasped. The Threxans stared, unsure. Then slowly, another Threxan bowed. Then another. Captain Mara placed her hand on her heart in return. A small step. A quiet moment. But it was the start of something new. In the days that followed, real change began. Threxan children visited the human school dome for the first time. Human farmers learned new planting techniques from the Threxans. Together, they built a shared garden where both species worked side by side. The local news called it the Garden of Trust. Lena didn't take credit. She simply smiled when people thanked her. She knew she had only planted the seed. The people had made it grow. Back on Earth, Dren Valen watched the reports with pride. "She did it," he said softly, watching footage of Lena speaking to both sides. His daughter, now a little older, smiled beside him. "Can we visit her someday?" she asked. Dren nodded. "One day, yes, but she's busy changing worlds." After 1 month on Corvus 6, Lena received a message from Valentech. New mission. Another colony, this time near the icy planet Colora 3, was facing trouble. Not with aliens, but with its own people. There were divisions between workers and leaders, rich and poor. Lena packed her bag and said goodbye to Tavarin, Captain Mara, and all the friends she had made. "You changed us." Tavarin said, "No." Lena replied gently, "You changed yourselves. I just reminded you what was already inside." As she boarded her ship, a small Threxan child ran up and gave her a flower made of silver threads. "For the kindness officer," the child said. Lena held it close. Colora 3 was a cold and harsh world. The sky was dark gray, and ice storms came often. The colony was rich in energy crystals, but the people were divided. The top-level leaders lived in warm towers with light and food. The workers below lived in broken shelters and ate cold meals. There was anger, silence, and no trust. When Lena arrived, no one wanted to listen. "We've had visitors before," one miner said. "They come, they talk, and they leave." Lena didn't talk at first. She listened. She sat with the workers, ate their food, and asked about their lives. She joined them during repairs, helped patch roofs, and even sang with their children at night. Then she visited the leaders. She didn't blame them. She told stories. She shared what happened on Mars Base Echo. She spoke of the Garden of Trust. "I'm not here to take sides," she said. "I'm here to help you see each other." The leaders were quiet. Some looked away, but one woman, the youngest of the board, stepped forward. "My brother is a worker," she said. "We haven't spoken in years. Maybe it's time we do." Soon, Lena brought both groups together, not in a meeting hall, but in a broken garden dome. She gave everyone seeds from Corvus 6's Garden of Trust. "Grow something together," she said. "Not with machines, with hands, with care." At first, people laughed, but then, slowly they planted. Days turned into weeks. The plants began to grow. And so did something else: respect. The garden became a symbol of unity. And Lena, once again, became the quiet bridge between divided hearts. Her title was now known across the stars: the Kindness Officer. She didn't carry a weapon. She didn't give commands. She only listened. She helped. She believed. And people, human and alien, began to believe too. Across the stars, the name Lena was now known. She was not famous because of power, money, or weapons. She was known because of something different: kindness. From Mars Base Echo to Corvus 6, and then to Calora 3, her simple actions had helped people heal, listen, and change. Her job was never easy, but it was always meaningful. People had started calling her the Kindness Officer. Some laughed at the name at first. Now they spoke it with respect. On a bright morning on Earth, inside a tall glass building, Dren Valen stood by a large window. He was watching a screen showing Lena's latest mission report. He smiled as he saw photos of humans and aliens working together on a shared energy project. One of the alien leaders, who once refused to speak with humans, was now sitting beside them, drinking tea. Dren's daughter walked in, holding a toy. "Is she coming home soon?" the girl asked. Dren looked at his daughter. "One more mission. Then I'll ask her to return." The little girl smiled. "I want to thank her again." Lena's next destination was Juno Station, a large floating city near a quiet planet called Alari. The station was home to many species: humans, Makari, Solans, and other peaceful beings. But something was wrong. A new alien race, the Veltrax, had arrived in the system. They were tall, armored, and quiet. They came with strong technology and sharp ships. People were afraid. "They don't talk," the station commander told Lena. "They watch us from their ships. No one knows what they want." Lena listened. "Has anyone tried speaking to them kindly?" The commander laughed nervously. "They don't answer messages. They don't respond." Lena nodded. "Then maybe it's time to meet them in person." With only a small team and a single translator drone, Lena took a ship toward the Veltrax's main cruiser. Everyone warned her, "They might arrest you. Or worse." She replied calmly, "If we let fear rule us, peace will never begin." When her ship reached the Veltrax vessel, there was silence. Then slowly, the docking doors opened. Lena stepped out carefully. The ship's halls were wide, dark, and silent. Lights glowed gently above her. Two tall Veltrax guards approached, their armor smooth and silver. Lena bowed her head slightly. "I come in peace. I come only to talk." The guards did not speak, but they led her to a large round room. In the center stood a figure taller than the others. His armor was marked with blue lines. He was Commander Thalos, leader of the Veltrax. "I am Lena," she said calmly. "A traveler, a helper, a human." For a moment, there was no answer. Then, to her surprise, Commander Thalos spoke. His voice was deep but clear. "You are the one called the Kindness Officer." Lena nodded. "Yes, I only wish to understand." The commander stared at her for a while. Many fear us. Yes, Lena replied, because they do not know you. You do not fear? Lena smiled softly. No, because I believe understanding is stronger than fear. The room went quiet. Then, Thalos raised one arm. A screen appeared behind him, showing different planets. Some the Veltrax had passed by, others where they were not welcome. We seek a place to rest, he said. Not to rule, but to live. Our home is dying. But when we arrive, people close their doors, Lena understood. The Veltrax were not attackers. They were travelers without a home. She told him the story of Mars Base Echo, how humans had almost lost hope, and how kindness had saved them. Then she shared how Threxans and humans built peace through a garden. She told him about the cold colony on Colora 3, where divided people grew food together. Commander Thalos listened closely. You believe all beings can change? I believe. All beings want peace, Lena said. They just need someone to show them it's possible. That same night, Lena returned to Juno Station with the Veltrax guards beside her. People stared in shock, but the Veltrax did not attack. They did not threaten. Instead, Commander Thalos spoke to the station leaders. We do not seek war, he said. We seek welcome. The station leaders looked unsure. Then Lena stepped forward. She opened a small box and pulled out a packet of seeds. These are from the Garden of Trust, she said. Let's grow one here, together. Thalos took the seeds in his armored hands. We will plant them. Days passed, and once again, something special began to grow, not just in the soil, but in the hearts of people. The Veltrax helped build a new dome on the edge of Juno Station. Inside, humans, aliens, and Veltrax worked side by side. They called it the Hall of New Dawn. Children from all species played together. They drew pictures of stars, gardens, and smiling faces. The station was no longer afraid. It was hopeful. When Lena left Juno Station, people lined up to say goodbye. A young Solin girl handed her a crystal flower. For the lady who made friends from fear. Even Commander Thalos bowed his head. You gave us a place when others gave us silence, Lena smiled. You gave it to yourselves. I only opened the door. Back on Earth, Dren Valen watched the news with pride. Images of the garden domes, smiling families, and peaceful meetings filled the screen. She did it again, he whispered. This time he sent a message. Lena, your light reaches farther than any ship. It's time to come home. The galaxy is changing because of you. Lena sat alone in her cabin, the stars glowing outside the window. She read Dren's message and closed her eyes. She thought about Mars, the tired father, the small child, the seat she gave away. Back then, she had nothing. No name, no job, no power. Just a choice to help someone else. Now, that one act had become a chain of kindness reaching across planets. She smiled and whispered to herself, this is just the beginning. The stars outside Lena's ship slowly moved past her window. She sat quietly, her fingers tracing the edge of a photo given to her by a child on Juno Station. The photo showed a human boy, a Veltrax girl, and a Solin child laughing together. In the garden dome. Her heart was full. A message blinked on her screen. Final docking confirmed. Earth Control welcomes you home. After many years and countless journeys, Lena was finally going back to Earth, not just as a helper or traveler, but as a symbol of what humans could become. At Earth Spaceport, news crews waited. They had heard the stories about the colonies saved, the alien races that made peace. The missions where Lena changed minds not with force, but with kindness. But Lena didn't come down with guards or big speeches. She stepped out in a simple jacket, carrying a small bag. No fame, no show, yet everyone clapped. A young girl ran forward and hugged her. You're real, Lena laughed softly. I'm just human. In a quiet corner of the spaceport, Dren Valen stood with his daughter. He no longer wore a suit or had assistants around him. He just waited with hope in his eyes. When Lena saw him, she smiled. He stepped forward. "Welcome back, Lena." She nodded. "Hello again, Dren." His daughter gave Lena a flower. "Thank you for giving up your seat, and for everything after." Lena knelt down. "You both gave me a direction that day. I just followed it." Later that evening, in a calm green park under the earth sky, Dren and Lena sat on a bench watching the stars. "So many people want to meet you," Dren said. "Leaders, scientists, teachers. They want your help to build more peace." Lena looked up. "I'll help. But I also want to teach others to do it without me. One person can begin change. But it must grow beyond one." Dren nodded. "I understand." He looked around the park, family's friends, people of all kinds walking together. "You changed more than space," he said. "You reminded us what it means to be human." The next week, Lena was invited to speak at the United Council of Worlds, where leaders of many species gathered. The hall was filled with aliens and humans, scientists and soldiers, builders and healers. When Lena stepped onto the stage, the hall became silent. She spoke in her simple voice. "I was once a person with no power, no title. I had nothing but a heart that wanted to help. One day, I gave up a seat for a tired father and his child. That small act started a path I never planned. But that is the truth of kindness. It does not need plans. It only needs courage in the moment." She looked around the room. "We come from many worlds. We speak many languages. But kindness is understood by all. When we listen instead of fight, when we plant instead of destroy, when we share instead of fear, we grow together. Peace is not a dream. It is a daily choice." The crowd stood. They clapped not out of formality, but out of respect. Even the Veltrax commander, sitting beside a human diplomat, nodded with pride. After that day, Lena did not return to space for a while. She chose to live quietly near the ocean, helping local communities, teaching children about unity, and planting trees in forgotten places. She often said, "Stars are beautiful, but so is a single flower grown with care." But the world had changed. People remembered her lessons. Young leaders from Earth and other planets built peace hubs, where humans and aliens could learn together. Soldiers became teachers. Miners became builders. Even old enemies sat at the same tables, planning the future. Lena was invited to attend many of these openings, but she always sent a simple letter instead. "Let your kindness be stronger than your fear. Let your help be louder than your anger. The universe is waiting for you." One evening, years later, Dren and his daughter visited Lena's small home by the sea. The girl, now a young woman, was studying to become a peace officer. She hugged Lena. "I want to do what you did." Lena smiled. "Then do it better, go farther, teach more." Dren stood beside them, still humble, still thankful. "You turned a single act into a galaxy-wide change." Lena looked at him. "It wasn't just me. You took the kindness and gave it to others. You believed it mattered." The sun was setting over the waves. Lena whispered, "Kindness travels faster than any ship. It reaches places we never see." Many years passed. Lena's name became part of history books. Schools on Mars, Colora 3, and even Veltrax colonies told her story. Statues were never built by her request. Instead, gardens were planted. Every planet that heard of her grew a garden of trust, where people of all kinds could meet, share, and remember that peace begins with one choice. At the edge of a new colony on a far world, a young explorer stood tired and alone. Her ship had broken. She was worried and scared. Then, a local child came forward and offered her food and a place to rest. The explorer asked, "Why are you helping me?" The child pointed to a sign by the garden gate. It read, "Help without waiting. Give without asking. Someone once did this for us." And beneath it was a name, Lena. Final note: one seat, one choice, one act of quiet kindness, and it changed the future of the stars. Because sometimes The smallest things humans do are the greatest reasons. They are special,